Welcome to the Upshift podcast, where changemakers meet and commune and find out how each other is doing their part in changing the world. Brocklen, who is doing amazing things with the dyslexic demographic, mainly the children, and he is using his incredible brain to bring a different way of approaching and educating this is dyslexic children. I'm not going to say it as good as he is. So welcome, Russell, and let's dive in. So
Thanks
how
for
did you
having
get
me.
involved in this, and where are you going, and what is the main thing you're doing here?
Well, what started is when I was finishing up my undergrad education in the late 90s. I wanted to know how government worked, not just some idea. I wanted to know. So I signed up for the Assembly Internship Program, but I went there, the New York State Assembly Internship Program, but I had a first grade reading and writing level. So they put me in the Majority Leaders Program and Counselor's Office, gave me great accommodations, and instead of a major report that people had to write, I gave a long presentation. Very typical accommodation for me back then. Well, after I did that, they recommended 15 credits of A minus. But the political science department of the State University of New York at Buffalo looked at the accommodations. Mind you, this is one of our lower house of the legislature for the state. And they said, we don't like those accommodations. So here's your 15 credits of F. Yeah, speak about a gut punch. So so, so at that point, I lost it. I was like, I'm done with the discrimination. I asked my professors, where do I go to grad school to learn to read and write? And they kind of laughed and said, law school. So I said, okay. I went and I signed up for law school to audit 2 classes. One was under a dyslexic professor named Professor Warner. And they looked at me, they said, well, they're kind of joking. They weren't expecting to send somebody with a first grade reading and writing level to law school. But it worked. So he called on me the second day of class. And what they do is they keep asking you questions using the Socratic method to embarrass you until you can eventually respond. So he was just crushing one student after the next. Then he called on me. And what I learned later is that in grad school, we own the place day one or soon thereafter, because here's what's essentially going on with dyslexia. This is the book that I use, Overcoming Dyslexia by Sally Shaywitz, second edition from Yale. That's dyslexia. So do you see how the back part of your brain has all this massive neuroactivity? See how the back part of mine has next to nothing?
He is showing a picture for those of us just listening of 2 different brains. One's called non-impaired and one's called dyslexic. The non-impaired has the frontal lobe and the posterior lobe with activity, and dyslexic only has the frontal lobe with activity.
Right. So do you see how the front part of the brain is about 2.5 times overactive for the dyslexic? Yeah. So that's what I used, apparently. So he called on me. Everything slowed down, organized for the first time in my life. And he kept asking me questions, trying to just knock me down. And I kept answering. So then he started getting a little snarky. I started getting a little snarky back. Next thing you know, a couple minutes in, I'm leaning forward. I'm yelling at him. He's leaning forward, yelling at me. Goes on for 5, 10, 15 minutes. He finally said, Russell, you couldn't be any more correct. I got to move on to the next case in the interest of time. All right. My classmates who became lawyers said they still can't do that today after practicing for decades, not against the professor. All right. They were just shocked at what I was able to do. I solved reading within a month. I solved writing within a couple of years. So my first program, I wanted to work with students like me who were in high school. They were high school juniors and seniors, highly intelligent, with extreme motivation. We got their best teacher, Susan Ford, for the Averill Park School District right outside of Albany, New York. This is funded by the New York State Senate. 1 class period a day for the school year, about 180 sessions. We took the students from writing at the 7th, 8th grade level to average of entering graduate school. They had the writing skills for college graduate when they finished.
7th, 8th grade to graduate,
Yep, to graduate level. The people who have graduated from college, that's what the GRE. So we jumped that far. They all went to college. They all graduated GPAs of 2.5 to 3.6. Cost the state less than $900. It was literally 3x as successful as the best dyslexic college at the time, Landmark College, for less than 1% of the cost.
They loved you.
Oh, yeah, that was a starting point. Then I thought I did something amazing. I was wrong. I presented this in New York City, and they came back to me and said, okay, what about normal kids? Will this work for them? I said, absolutely not. Well, go make it work for them. So, so what I had to do is, again, I had to go back. Here's the brain scans again for those of you who are watching. The front part of the brain is 2.5 times overactive, as you can see there. So I decided, Yale said it deals with articulation followed by word analysis. I flipped it. I said word analysis followed by articulation. So let me give you an example of how that works. Do you know any dyslexic elementary school kids who are writing essentially
I've
randomly
got
placed
many
misspelled
adult
words?
friends that are.
Okay. Well, I want you to think back. I'm just going to give you my
Okay.
standard example. Her name was Sarah. So she's in 5th grade reading and writing at the 2nd grade level, essentially writing a bunch of randomly placed misspelled words. I'm going to show you how to use word analysis followed by articulation so that your audience can see how to get them to write basic sentences. What we do is we have Sarah type out, and you pretty much, the parents do this for 10 things that she really, really likes, 10 things she really, really doesn't like. The first thing, her favorite thing in the world is swimming. Okay, she's on the swim team, loves getting in the pool. Now, what we have her do is type out the parents first. And yes, you're going to be copying. That's the default writing strategy of copying Professor James Collins' strategies for struggling writers. You're going to type out on a laptop, not an iPhone, not an iPad, not handwriting, a real keyboard on a laptop. We're going to type out hero plus sign. What are we talking about? And then Sarah's going to copy it. Now we're going to switch out hero for Sarah. So it's Sarah plus sign. What are we talking about? And then we're going to go to the list of what she likes and pick the top one, which is swimming. We're going to swap that out for what are we talking about? Sarah plus sign
Yeah.
swimming.
Yeah, I do
See how we
actually.
got there? Now I'm about to try to fool you. I'm going to ask you the
Okay.
simplest questions you've ever been asked,
All right, I
and
love
you're going to
this.
have
Go
an
for it.
epiphany. Okay. Do you
Probably.
think I can fool you? Okay. If you answer my questions exactly, it'll
All
work.
right.
Otherwise, it doesn't. Are you ready? So we need to exchange the plus sign for a word. So we have Sarah plus sign swimming. We got to switch out plus sign to make a real sentence. Here's my question. Does Sarah like or
Like.
dislike swimming?
Like. Yes.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Now
Sarah
go ahead and
likes
create the
swimming.
sentence. You got it at the first time and then you messed
Do you
it
not
up.
use the S or something?
One of the
Yeah. Well, I
very few
saw that
people
in the
that
beginning.
spotted
Yeah.
that.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So I will tell you 90% of the teachers don't catch that. So just so your audience understands what's going on, I asked, does Sarah
She
like or dislike swimming? You said like, which is exactly what I asked. But then when you put it in the sentence initially, you do what educated people do. You automatically added the S to make it a proper sentence. Sarah doesn't
Okay.
know
All
how to
right.
do that. Okay. That's the problem because essentially what's going on, and again, for those who are watching, I'm just going to go to the brain again. You see all that neural activity
Yeah.
in the back part of the non impaired brain? That's what's going on in your head. You look at the dyslexic, there's
Right.
basically almost nothing going on. So what we have to do is we have to shift that to the front part of the brain using word analysis
So this is
followed
like a
by
different way of doing
articulation.
English class in a way. It's like right, wrong. In English, but in English class,
It
if
is,
I
it
wrote a
is,
sentence, Angel like swimming, I get a big red mark. And I just learn by doing, right? Learn by right, wrong. And so you're saying that dyslexics can't learn that way? Or
there's virtually nothing going on back there. Our brains are polar opposite. Okay. So if you're a millionaire, what the rich use is an Orton Gillingham multi-sensory structured language approach. After 4th grade, it's 4 to 5 years at 75,000 a year. And then the kids are okay. If you can't afford house money,
yeah.
we had to figure out a better way. Okay. And that hasn't changed much since the 1950s. All right.
I
So
gotta ask another
what we
question,
do,
just so
so good.
for me, because I love neurobiology, by the way. So
Uh-huh.
you're saying a dyslexic brain is more
Mhm.
like rote memory?
What you have to engage. Let me explain the word analysis followed by articulation. I'll come back to that question. All right. So what we have to use is we have to use the front part of the brain. So with word analysis, we have to use that. And the other way, how we get around the grammar, because remember what the original program I told you about, the kids went from middle school to average veteran grad students. The teacher spent almost no time on spelling and grammar. It auto corrected. Okay. 7, 8 grade levels it went from horrendous to clean at the entry graduate level. Okay. Here's how we apply it to the young kids. So what we tell them, we asked Sarah, she would have wrote out Sarah likes swimming. She doesn't know how to add the S. So Orton Gillingham would have you see it, touch it, hear it, as many senses as possible. It's complicated as all heck, but it works. It just takes forever. How do we do that with modern science? We asked Sarah to read what she wrote out loud. Sarah liked swimming. Then I asked Sarah, does that sound generally correct? She's going to say no. And I'm going to say, fix it. So she fixes it. Sarah likes swimming. Okay. That's one of the major things we do to overcome the grammatical issues. You practice that for 10 likes and 10 dislikes. Okay. Now we're going to go to we've done word analysis. Like and dislike is a simple form of word analysis. We're going to go because, and then the reasons are a form of articulation. Word analysis, articulation, front part of the brain. All right. So why do you think Sarah likes swimming? Give me a simple reason a 10-year-old would say.
I mean, it's fun.
It's fun. That's what everybody says when I ask them that. Sarah likes swimming because it's fun. Now we have a bunch of so now we don't have randomly placed words, but we now have misspelled words. It's a mess. Here's how we fix it. We have Sarah type it out, then we put down a period, and we tell Sarah if she had a major grammatical mistake or a spelling mistake. And by grammatical, I mean really major. Don't really major, that's it. But when it comes down to spelling, if there's a spelling mistake, she has to retype the entire sentence. And she'll do that between 3 and 13 times. And as she keeps retyping it and making the same mistakes, she concentrates harder and harder. She says, I'm not going to make that mistake. I'm not going to make that mistake. By the time 10 to 13 times comes, you can see sweat sometimes coming down her forehead. All right. So finally she gets it right. You practice that on all 20 times until it's correct. And then you come on to reason 2. If you make a mistake in number 19, retype them from the beginning until it's all correct. Yes, it's repetitive as all heck. I'll get to why that's the case in a moment. So you do reason 1 20 times, reason 1 and reason 2 20 times, reason 1, reason 2, and reason 3. This can take for Sarah between 2 and 6 weeks. For a third grader, you could take the entire semester. But when you get done with this, they are now writing at the end of second, beginning third grade level. You just increased their writing by grade levels. Here's the other thing. Parents are concerned about reading. If they can write a word, they can read it. If they can write a word, they can read it. Okay? That's word analysis followed by articulation. I'm now dealing with normal kids, not the super motivated. I can't get them to do any work. Okay. Until I applied what I learned in law school, which is, as you know, when you went to graduate school, it's hyper specific in a very narrow focused area. So when you did your master's degree, did they care if you could
No.
analyze Shakespeare? No. Okay. Did they care if you could do evolved physics?
No, but there were some finance guys that were pretty evolved. Statistics.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There were some fine. Yeah. So it's very specific. So what I learned from that is dyslexics excel in their speciality, their area of extreme interest and ability. So this is for your audience who have kids who are ADD or especially ADHD, attention
Okay.
deficit hyperactivity disorder. The treatment's the exact same thing with dealing with dyslexics. Okay. what you find their speciality, you say, it's a Saturday morning, you can do whatever you want, go wherever you want in the world. What would you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
That's their speciality. We get an audio book and a book in that area that they're very interested in. And then I want at least a couple of grade levels where they're supposed to be. And then the kids will be laser focused on that like crazy. So let me give you an example. This is by far the most requested book that I have. It's Walt Disney's biography, The Triumph of the American Imagination. All 1,000 pages of it. It's written for 17-year-olds. I will give this to a 10-year-old with a second grade reading level. All right. Why? Because they want to know about the Disney magic. And I tell them there are two universal things.
Yes,
Have
of
you ever been
course.
to Disneyland or Disney World? Have you walk into Main Street? You walk in the Magic Kingdom. It's Main Street, USA. Same for Disneyland.
Yeah,
Do
of
you remember
course. As a
feeling the
little
Disney
kid and with
magic?
my own children, yes, I feel magic.
Yes. Okay. That Main Street USA is based in Marceline, Missouri, where Walt was between age 5 and 10. He spent his entire life trying to recapture that. And I tell them there's two universal themes. And then I give them a process to find it. And the parents say, my kids won't do that. I said, in their speciality, they will. You step out of it, they won't. And then I'm like, just try pulling their kids away. I had parents who had kids that were ADHD, and the kids started working on it on Saturday in the morning. It's dinner time. They literally have to almost physically drag their son to the dinner table because he wanted to get back to his speciality. He loved it so much. All right. So what I'm saying is during an intervention period, until we get them to grade level, we work on their speciality. Otherwise, you step outside of that, which the school loves to do, your motivation is down 50% at
And they
least.
lose their
For normal kids, you're
attention.
down
That's
about
where the
80.
ADD kicks in. Yeah.
And forget it. Again, until we get through until we get them to reading and writing at grade level. So we focus on the speciality. Number two, this is really important. You can't ask a dyslexic a general to a specific question. You cannot ask them, for example, what effect did Martin Luther King's famous I Have a Dream speech have on the American Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s? You would know
Mm-hmm.
exactly how to go write that paper right now. All right. You would just know what to do. But for a dyslexic, it's
Yep.
like trying to grab fog. We can't do it. We have to ask a specific to a general question. What personally compelled Martin Luther King to want to give his famous speech? We go and find the answer. That answer provides another question. We answer that and we keep going. And here's the key point, that forces the brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output. Okay. How did I learn this? Senior dyslexic professors that are full professors of major research universities. The vast majority of them told me this. So now, how do we determine if your kid is ADD, ADHD, or mild dyslexia? We ask a very
I
simple
am ready
question.
for it.
Are you ready for it? Okay. First of all, what's your speciality? What's your
Mine
area of
would
extreme
be
interest
moving
and
the
ability?
body and generality. I've been an athlete all my life and a dancer, and then I used that to be a movement therapist.
Okay. Okay. So when you're thinking about dancing, do you ever have ideas flying around your head at light speed? Key question, but with little to no organization.
I wouldn't know about no organization, but I'm creating in my head, especially when I hear music. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. No, I mean, do you have ideas? It's just completely rapidly going everywhere, and you have like no control over it. It's
Not
just going
quite.
complete
No.
chaos.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's not you. If you were ADD, ADHD, or
I'm
dyslexic, you would say
close,
yes.
but not
So what
completely
okay,
uncontrolled.
okay. So what this does? Okay, let me ask you the next question. Or you're thinking about dancing. Fingers, keyboard, fingers, keyboard. The ideas in your head, you want to take your fingers, put it on the keyboard. Does the idea ever fly out of your head, leaving you with an empty brain?
It's not leaving an empty
Is that
brain.
you or no? Okay. That is dyslexia. That's severe dyslexia
Yeah.
if you answer yes to both questions. So what the model is, during the intervention period, you focus on the speciality, teaching them from the specific to the general, and word analysis followed by articulation. How successful is this? I'm writing a book now called Literacy and Reading Dyslexia Turnaround. All right. It's about Kimberly. I met her last December. For those listening, this is a recording in October of 2025. I met her in December 27th of 2024. She just paid $900 to have her kids tested by by the state of Ohio. She would read. Her son was 10, reading and writing at the beginning third grade level. He was a year and a half behind. If he was in a public school, he would have increased by 1.86 points for the rest of the school year. He didn't. He increased by 20, an 11x, not doubled, not triple as fast as public school was supposed to go, 11 times. He was slightly above grade level at the end of fifth grade. His friends said, "We want you to come with us in public school for social reasons." If that was January, he would have been put in special ed, not be with his friends, very frustrated kid. But he started sixth grade. He's doing absolutely fine. He was retested in the public school at grade level for a second time. He's doing just fine. His mother did this in about an hour and a half, working with him a week. I worked with her a half an hour a week on average, and she did what parents dream of, got their child to grade level. That's how powerful
Okay,
this system
wow.
is.
So, but you're in New York, and I think that from our pre-conversation, you're really focusing on trying to change the New York public schools view and ability to work with dyslexics. Am I right about that? You're trying to get a standardized program in the schools?
Yeah, because the state decided they want to do the biggest rewrite of K through 5 education in the state's history. They got the 100 top people together. They wrote a report called the New York State Dyslexia Task Force Report. You can Google it. It's in the state education department. I'm working with Evelyn Whitebay, who's one of the 3 teachers on that panel for the report. What New York State's found, we are the highest tax state in the country. Sorry, California, you can't beat us there. We spend more per kid than anybody. And what they found is they can't afford it, number one. And number two, the teachers are rebelling because we've dumped so much onto them already. And this would be
Okay.
weeks of additional training. Evelyn and I can go in and train teachers how to take this from kindergarten through senior in high school. And we can do that
But
within
if
6
they
hours.
don't, say you're listening to this and you're in California or Washington State, wherever, and they're not in the system, you're saying that what you have, you can give to parents and they can, in an hour and a half a week, get their dyslexic child, ADHD child up to grade level?
Well, yeah, I'm using Reed as a example. We're now doing this with other kids. Some are moving faster, some are moving slower. The older the kid is, the quicker they pick it up. Okay. But parents, this example, she brought him to grade level within 6 months. I just started working with another kid. I'm just going to make up a name to protect his identity. His name is John. He's in 8th grade. His speciality, I'm not joking about this, it's taking paint thinner and turning it into cherry soda. Okay. The video he likes is literally at the college level, but his reading and writing below the 3rd grade level. All right. So we made some adjustments, and his father's working with him. That might take 12 to 18 months to get him up to grade level, I'm projecting, depending on how much time his dad
I
can
got to
work with him.
interject here.
Okay.
Maybe this is my ignorance and that's okay. But what is the difference? I mean, there's dyslexia and you showed me the brain and all that. And then there's this big umbrella
Mhm.
called on the spectrum, which when you talk about kids on the spectrum, you can focus them. And then adults in the NASA and the super brainiac world and the Mensa people, they are quote unquote on the spectrum because of their ability to hone in on, focus down on, and take something beyond what most people can actually figure out. What is the difference here? Because what distinguishes dyslexia from underneath this big spectrum umbrella?
Okay. I'm just going to call the PC term is neurodiverse. Dyslexia and dysgraphia is writing, dyslexia is reading. It's called basically the same thing. They're non-scientific terms. They essentially mean the worst possible
Okay.
reading and writing disabilities. Okay. So when you're talking about other things like people on the spectrum, when you're talking about ADD, ADHD, I just kind of equate it as like a mild form of dyslexia for treatment purposes. Those students pick it up a
Then
lot
dyslexia.
faster. Okay. Think of, yeah, no, the ADD, the dyslexics take the longest. It's the most severe case. It's kind of like imagining like sunburned. On the spectrum, neurodiverse ADD, ADHD might be your typical first degree sunburn. Severe dyslexia is like a
So
third degree.
looking at it like that, it would
Okay.
be like almost impossible to get these kids up to speed. But what you're saying is you've cracked the code.
Well, I'm pointing to the science. This is overcoming dyslexia again. There's the brain scans. I had this weird idea that the front part of the brain is 2.5 times overactive. Yale said it was articulation followed by word analysis. So when I did my initial study, funded by the New York State Senate, articulation, I used the graduate records exam, analytical writing assessment. Articulation, analytical, to me, the same thing. Very successful. Now I flipped them over for the younger kids to word analysis followed by articulation, which we discussed earlier. And then I said, to get these kids to even do the work, we have to focus on their speciality. For Reed, that was Logan in X-Men, okay, Wolverine. And then we had to teach them not from the general to the specific, but the specific
Okay.
to the general. Okay, so you put those things together, and Reed's mom, again, she's a homeschooling mom. She had taught his 4 brothers and sisters how to
Right.
read using standard methods. She failed with Reed,
Right.
and she felt horrible about it. What I showed you worked for her. She was 11x the learning rate as a homeschooling mom. Now, does that guarantee that for everybody? No, that's one example. Some will be faster, some will be slower, but this does work for parents and kids who want to, go and actually solve the issue. I'm just basing it on the modern science. That's my different take on it, because Orton Gillingham hasn't changed much since the 1950s, because Orton passed away in 1948. Okay. And why am I not mentioning other ones?
Well, let me
Because
ask
they
you
don't
this,
work.
Russell. This is all fascinating. What is let's take it up 30,000 feet. What is your overall goal? And what would be your dream for this?
What I'm working on when I'm teaching these kids, I use a book called The Craft of Research, which was designed by the University of Chicago to help the PhD students write dissertations in the mid 90s. Now it's the top selling book on how to do advanced research. It's context, get everybody on the same page, which is what I did with Reed, problem statement, and then coming up with a solution that matters. We're currently working on a more advanced body paragraph for the problem level. And we're taking Reed now. Remember, he's sick. He's in 6th grade, 10 years old. We're showing him how to start writing body paragraphs that are at the
All
senior
right.
year of high school.
Okay.
He's at grade level. We're moving him to the top of the mountain so he can walk down for anything additional he needs to learn. Then after that, we're going to show him how to do solution, which means he's going to be writing research papers on, let's say, Romeo and Juliet, that are so original that they would be original at graduate school, like something nobody has ever written before. And you follow that
Your
process.
overall
It
goal is to
happens every time.
have this across the nation, or have schools adopt this, or available to
Yes,
parents.
we're starting off with parents because it's just a lot easier. And then we're working on getting this into schools. That's what the book is for. And why is this so important? Because AI is killing these kids coming out of college. The CEO of Anthropic thinks that half the kids in 5 years out of college won't find jobs. I can tell you, I had a client who hated AI, had no idea how to use it. His boss loved it. I said, go apply what I taught you, what you practiced for 4 years in college. And he went through, he did context problem solution. He turned in a 5 paragraph essay. His boss said, this is a minor problem that we never took the time to solve. You solved it. Within a week, he's training AI to his peers. Once you know the craft of research, I have shown you how to prompt engineer your brain. These kids have to become senior within 6 to 12 months. They have to go in knowing how to use like for example, ChatGPT
Hmm.
Pro, which is $200 a month.
Hmm.
I bought it the day it came out. If you are not able to use AI that effectively, good luck finding a job. Once you can and you become senior within 6 to 12 months, those kids are going to be doing
So if I
phenomenally
said
successful.
all these dyslexics, all
Otherwise,
the new kids coming up in our nation, it would be your dream to really use this program, whether it's through the home, hopefully through the schools, to make them not only up to speed, but it sounds like bypass.
way past the. I am talking the craft of research in its current edition, fifth edition, sixth edition, whatever it is. At at the youngest, it's for super evolved high school kids. I'm talking one in many high school valedictorians. I dropped context to a
Wow.
10-year-old.
Okay. So if I'm a listener out there and either I've got a kid or know somebody with one, and maybe you think they're dyslexic, you need to get them tested, right? And I guess you got that handled.
Well, you see the two questions I asked you? That'll give you the general information if they're mildly dyslexic,
And
ADD or
that is the
ADHD,
one
or
about
severely
things flying
dyslexic.
around your head, and then you get
First, yes, first question, you have to find out the kid's speciality, which parents have a hard time doing. That's why they generally contact me, and I show them how to find what that is. But then once you find the speciality, question number one, do you have ideas flying around your head at light speed, but with little to no organization? If they say yes, that's ADD, ADHD, or dyslexia, mild dyslexia. If fingers, keyboard, the idea's in your head, in your speciality, you want to write about it, you take your fingers, put it on the keyboard. Does the idea fly out of your head, leaving you with an empty brain? They say yes to that. That's severe dyslexia. Now, this is not going to be clinical, but it saves parents about $5,000 on a neuropsych exam that I don't really need. And I ask those to the kids. They're like, how did you know that about me? I mean, like, well, I went through what you're going through. Some of them are like, do you have cameras on me? Nobody knows that
well,
about
that's got
me.
to feel
I was like, well,
good in
you're
itself,
not the
just
only one.
knowing that somebody recognizes you and that you're not a total freak. That would be nice to know.
It changes everything because then, like, I'm like, is this how you want to overcome your concerns? And they say, yes. Then I talk to the parents. The parents are freaking out, like, I don't have house money. I don't have car money. I said, well, we're on a very, very used car money for
So how do they
showing
get
you
in
how to
touch
get a
with you,
solution.
Russell? Because I'm sure this is interesting. People want like they want to know, they want to get their hands on it. Can they get their hands on
Mhm.
this? And if so, how? How do we reach you? How do we do this?
It's very simple. You just go to dyslexiaclasses.com. That's plural with an S, dyslexiaclasses.com. And on the homepage, it says download free guide. Just click on that. We offer a document, the 3 reasons your child's having trouble in school due to dyslexia and how to get past it. You answer a few questions, download it. It goes into a lot more detail to what we discussed today. And then you go to my online calendar, set up a free 30-minute talk with me, and I talk to your child. I know it's like you have to drag them to talk to me. It's always the case. And we go through it. And then typically they tell me, yeah, this is how I want to overcome my concerns. And then I discuss things with the parents and how we work with them on a yearly basis. Because let's face it, parents can't afford the $150, $200 an hour for an Orton Gillingham certified tutor that starts off with fifth grade. And when they're in college or grad school, they're still with them. That's not on planet Earth. Most parents, I just say the easiest way to do it is for
Yeah.
you to do it yourself. Here's
Awesome.
how.
So, Russell, thank you so much for joining us today. This is amazing. So, give us the .com again. Dyslexia class.
Again, it's dyslexia classes with an S, dyslexiaclasses.com, and just
And
hit the button
Russell
download free
Van
guide.
Brocklen, in case you can't remember some things, and you could type that into Google and probably find your website there. There. All right, Russell.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for joining us
Yes.
today. I can't wait to promote this because I want people out there with dyslexic children to get a hold of this and find some relief, A, because I know I'm a parent, and B, to have their kids be successful. It's the only thing that we can hope for as parents, you know?
Well, here's the other thing. I've worked with a lot of my uh, sisters and brothers of my clients who are not dyslexic on their way to becoming valedictorian or close to it, and they find this works well for them. the dyslexic just goes a lot deeper, but this does work for them as well. And a lot of them have found it to
All
be
right.
extremely
Russell,
helpful.
thank you. Thank you. All right. That was Russell Van Brocklen really enlightening us on dyslexia in children and how we can treat with them so that they will not only meet the expectations but exceed. So you can get a hold of Russell at dyslexicclasses.com. Thank you so much for him. And thank you to my listeners for listening today. You can get in touch with me at angelhoward.co. You can find out everything you want to know about me at angelhoward.co. That's co, not com. Go on Amazon, get my book, Issues in Your Tissues, and read more about how your body is talking to you and how to crack the code of the messages that your body is giving you. Thank you so much for being with us today, and until next time.